How do you feel about Sudoku? Well, love it or hate it, you're going to hear a lot about it on today's episode of Life's Potluck Buffet. I'm John Paulus. Thanks for joining me. The reason I'm talking about Sudoku today is if you remember yesterday's episode, I talked about crosswords. I was listening to yesterday's episode on YouTube and just it was in the background. I was doing something else. Well, I already knew what it was about, so it wasn't really important for me to listen closely. But after my video was over, the autoplay on the YouTube embedded player, the player embedded in the web browser and the website, I was using the website, YouTube website, went automatically to a video with Simon Anthony, the host of Cracking the Cryptic on YouTube. And this became really famous during the beginning of the pandemic in 2020 when he was featured on stations worldwide. I know WGN in Chicago here in the United States featured him, but I never really heard of him until, yesterday when the YouTube decided that the algorithm decided that I needed to hear a recent episode of Cracking the Cryptic. And, I quite enjoyed it. I enjoyed it on two levels. The first level was there was a real engagement with the community there. Simon Anthony said some birthday wishes and messages. It was kind of for people listening, and it was kind of like one of those old, call-in shows almost on the radio where where people are dedicating messages to other people, and Simon would read them out, and that was really nice. And then the second thing that I thought was really nice was he did this puzzle that, a Sudoku, of course, that was really interestingly designed. And remember yesterday I was talking about the design of crossword and puzzles. And what I'm always interested in is how people who are craftspeople, and I've talked a lot about craft and craftspeople and the idea of that and its importance to me, but when craftspeople see something in another craftsperson's work that just makes them glow, really. I saw that with Simon in this puzzle that was designed by somebody else, and he was so genuinely appreciative of the craft of that person and the pleasure that they had created for him, and he knows for the fans of his show and for everybody else who does the puzzle. And I really enjoyed watching that video. So YouTube's algorithms were totally spot on yesterday for me, and that was a perfect video for me to watch. And in fact, I was so inspired by it that this morning I decided to do a Sudoku just to kind of practice for the episode. And I really enjoyed it. I think it was because I appreciated Simon Anthony's enthusiasm and contagious enthusiasm for the craft of Sudoku and for the people of Sudoku. So that was great. Because of the name Sudoku, I thought that Sudoku was a Japanese invention. It's actually a Japanese trademark by a game company that names Sudoku. Because just in continuing with my language theme, I made sure that I found out what the deal was with Sudoku so I could share it with you. And Sudoku, though not invented in Japan, I'll get to that in a second, its name is an abbreviation for Sujiwa Dokushin ni Kagiru. Oh, I didn't think I was going to do that in one take, but I did. So I don't know if it made sense to anybody. If you're a Japanese speaker, let me know how I did. So The that phrase, which I won't try again, so that my perfect record, well, my imagined perfect record, stays intact. Well, that phrase means, and I ran through Google Translate to see what Google Translate would come up with. I saw in the Wikipedia entry what the um, the translation actually is, and the Google Translate was close, and also it reflected the Dokushin part, which is means single people, like unmarried people. So it means numbers are limited to single people. Is well, that was the Google Translate. So the idea here is that you have single numbers only, single digits only, and that's that. Now, in Japanese, Sudoku is not called Sudoku; it's called number place, which is what it's called in was called in English in the 1970s when it was invented and published in some magazines, and the name was Number Place, and apparently a guy from Indiana in the U.S. Invented it. His name may have been Howard Garnes, so that's that's cool. Earlier on, the Sudoku concept had been developed in France in French newspapers. Again, this is like, I was talking about the crossword puzzles and their development in magazines and newspapers. The same thing happened with Sudoku, but in this case, newspapers in France started publishing magic squares, as they're known. So, in other words, a magic square is a mathematical thing where all of the rows and columns and add up to the same number, things like that. But the idea behind the magic square in these newspapers as a game was that there would be magic squares with like numbers missing, and you had to put in what the numbers that were missing were. Pretty easy, pretty straightforward. Well, a newspaper, because there was a rivalry between two newspapers in France, one of the newspapers, called La France, created something called the Carré Magique Diabolique, the, diabolical magic square. And that was the closest thing I learned to the modern Sudoku. Like the crosswords I was talking about yesterday, it was Sudoku-esque, not like those early crosswords that were crossword-esque. It wasn't quite the Sudoku, that puzzle that we would recognize, that would be finalized and invented in 1979. So now I'm wondering if the Magic Life's Potluck Buffet cards, since we've been talking about magic squares, I'm wondering if they can produce some magic card. What would it be? Would it be one of the numbers 1 through 9, like in a Sudoku puzzle? Or, yeah, I think so. Let's see if that happens. Here's your challenge cards. We need a number 1 through 9, any of the single-digit number cards, to help us out here and let us know what our magic number is for today. So here we go. I'll do the ritual shuffle. Yellow lemons, magenta noodles, blue dumplings, cards, tell us some things. All right. Well, this card, here it is. It's card 44. Map your own knowledge. Oh, well, this involves London. So, I mean, I guess that, even though it wasn't a single digit card, so that we know. It's card 44. It has one digit on it, just twice, so that's okay. But it does relate to the Simon Anthony thing. I'm pretty sure Simon Anthony is from England, and I don't know if he's from London. I don't. All right. Well, let me look this up. I'm gonna search for Simon Anthony online. What are we gonna see? Simon Anthony London is going to be my search. Oh, look at this, a headline from The Guardian. This puzzled man solving miracle Sudoku becomes YouTube sensation. So he's working from a Surrey loft. Okay, well, so this is totally okay, Cards. This is totally legitimately related to Simon Anthony and this whole episode. So so I got to give you credit, Cards. This is good. And so card 44 is map your own knowledge. To be licensed, London cab drivers need to know pretty much every twist and turn of the city. I've done a couple of episodes on this, and so check those out on the YouTube channel if you haven't seen them. This learning is called the knowledge. And so this card basically asks us to create a map of our aspirations based on what we're feeling right now. And I did that on one episode, live on an episode a while back, and I created a map. And it's very helpful, I find, to just kind of get through thoughts you're thinking about what's next for you, where you're headed, and where you want to go.